there, comic book friends. I'm Travis, and it's time for an edition of What the Fugue, where I talk about what's going on with me in my world of comics. How's it going, everybody? Let's see, what's going on this week as far as me. Let's see, first up, my anniversary giveaway, not really a contest, whatever the heck you want to call it. It expires next Tuesday, September 30th. So if you're still looking to want to throw out some answers to those questions and be thrown in the hat for that drawing, however that all works out, you got until then. If you're past that, hey, you can still answer the questions. They're fun. Listen to people's answers. At least I think they're fun to listen to people's answers of, you know, what they think about those questions. And like I said, then hopefully that next week I will at some point that week or the next week after that, I'll actually do the drawing. I'll answer the questions. We'll talk some more about, you know, what it's been like for me in 3 years here on YouTube talking comic books. That should be awesome. So you can talk comic books once again. A comic book roundtable this Saturday, 6:30 Pacific and 9:30 Eastern, and all those times in between and around. So check us out if you can. Give me a yell if you want to be on. We'll see if we can work out getting you on. Sometimes it's hard. Google Plus and Google Hangouts seems to kind of change every so often and whatnot, and it seems like that it works differently for each one of us. I get my invites actually come to me in an email, and shows up in that little bell that's up in the corner up there when you're looking here on YouTube. If you're looking at this on a computer, there's a bell up there in the corner that will fill in. You know, it's you know, open most of the time. If you have messages, it fills in. You click on it there and you get the invite there. Now, some people who've had to come on have had to come clear to my Google Plus page, the Oddfellows Google Plus page, see where the event is happening at, and then click yes that I want to join the event. And that's how they've gotten on. So those are just some of the ways to get on. So I don't know. You know, we had some problems getting Talax the Mighty on this last week. Unfortunately, we couldn't figure out how to get him on. Time got late enough that we needed to get going on it. So unfortunately, we didn't get to be on that week. Hopefully we can get him on soon. It's just hard to explain how to get on the thing when it's different from everybody. So hopefully we get that figured out. And like I said, if you want to be on, jump on, say hey. We'd love to have you, talk some comics, and comic related whatever. We seem to get off on all kinds of stuff. This coming week, for sure we'll be talking about some quasi-comic related stuff. I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about Gotham, since how the season pilot for the first season was shown this week, so we'll be talking about that. Heck, I even sat through season premiere of S.H.I.E.L.D. So maybe we'll talk about that too if anybody else watched that happened to be on the show or whatever. So we'll give that a little bit of a try and see how that all is. Definitely there's some differing opinions on the Gotham, so that should be entertaining. See where that goes. Let's see, what else is going on. This is my last week of basically not getting any DC titles other than the Batman Eternal. This is the last week of the lenticular Future's End tie-in books. So it's been okay. It's been okay month without much of those DC books. Starting to actually kind of jones for some of them. Looking forward to getting into reading some of those books once they come back out again. So that'll be pretty cool. Next week, if you're jumping back into some of those, we'll see. Because interestingly, my poll didn't really drop a whole lot in titles during the month of September, so that leads me to believe that my poll has gotten even bigger. So we'll see how that all works out, reading all those comments and whatnot, but still really been enjoying it. Excited for some of the books that are coming out this week. There's some, you know, at least one #1 that I'm curious to be checking out, Roach Limit, curious to see what it ends up being like. I've seen some of the covers or some of the stuff, and just kind of have no idea what it's about, just buying it based solely on the funky art that's on the cover and just seeing what it's going to be. Sometimes that's a fun way to explore the books. At least I think that's one of the fun ways to explore the book. Let's see what else is going on. Oh, let's see. In Marvel type things, and Bleeding Cool type things, and I have really mixed feelings about Bleeding Cool. I think I've mentioned this before. I do occasionally look at the site. I certainly follow it on Twitter just to kind of see what kind of shit it's stirring up. And to me anymore, it feels like more that's what it's about than actually providing us a real service. It's a way to very quickly, because it's the internet, sensationalize something and watch it get out of control before haphazardly at best going, oh, well, no, this is really what's going on, after they stir things up. So, that being said, and I've referred to Bleeding Cool pulling things out of their ass, and I've had Rich Johnson, who is he's basically being cool. I mean, he's the person that's running and whatnot. And I've read his articles for a very long time, back when he was actually did, you know, I think it was Lying in the Gutters is what it was called, back at Comic Book Resources. Yeah, I read the stuff there. You know, it was quasi-gossipy, but not quite as bad, it doesn't seem, as it is now. But at any rate, I had mentioned that I thought Bleeding Cool was pulling a lot of stuff out of their ass, because the thing in particular was, is Sharp or Not here on YouTube and on Twitter, comments on a lot of our videos, was comments on a lot of mine, comments on the show and stuff, was on the show, was commenting on the fact that it sounded like the new Ghost Rider book was going to get canceled. And there was some scuttlebutt about that, and about not announcing it. You know, Bleeding Cool promised to not announce it until after the creators were told that their book was being canceled. Supposedly Marvel had asked Bleeding Cool not to say anything. They complied. Then on Twitter, some of the execs for Marvel were saying, no, we never said that. And Bleeding Cool implies that they are, so somebody's lying. I'm not saying Bleeding Cool is. Could easily be Marvel, because now the new Ghost Rider book is going on past the issues that Bleeding Cool assumed that where it was going to get canceled at. And they seem to think I had a good source that it was going to be canceled. So either Marvel's lying and suddenly expanded the line because they don't want to be exposed as wanting to cancel this book, you know, or Bleeding Cool was misinformed and relayed that information when they shouldn't have. So it doesn't make much sense to me that Marvel would decide to keep producing a book if it's failing, if it's not making the money they want to, and they decide they're going to cancel it. Why would they produce it for another 4, 5, 6 months just to try and save face on the whole firing, canceling thing? And this is the same kind of crap that happened with Superior Foes of Spider-Man. The book was fine, you know, it was, you know, chugging along, not huge seller, but still it was fine. And then it gets rumored that it's going to get canceled. Then the creators that spend a lot of time talk about how no, it's not canceled. And meanwhile, people are saying, well, I'm not picking that up anymore because it's canceled, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Then it ends up getting canceled. So that kind of rumor mill doesn't do any good, right? It helps kill books, or it feels to me like it does. I don't know. Feels like it does. And along the same lines, the Bleeding Cool, 2 days ago, they had an article saying that all of Morano, I'm pretty sure that's the last name, Morano, the artist who did the scandalous, seemingly scandalous, I've talked about it here, Spider-Woman cover, you know, the one where the, you know, basically the suit's painted on, she's crawling over the rooftop thing, that caused all the, you know, the upset feelings and whatnot around the book, with good chunks of the comic reading community and stuff. Suddenly he wasn't doing a bunch of covers that he was listed as supposedly going to be doing variant covers of, and so Bleeding Cool runs it as being basically that he's been fired from doing the covers, you know, implying that because this whole internet, you know, scream over the, you know, over the Spider-Woman cover led Marvel to cancel those books. So, or not cancel the books, but cancel those covers, cancel him doing covers. So basically, the internet basically stole jobs from him. Which, if that were the case, I don't know how I feel about that. Because I don't think it's about the artist himself. I don't think the issue is the artist himself or his style of art. It was more the fact is that Marvel portrayed this book as being something that was going to be sold to their female audience. Look, we're creating another female-centric book. It's going to be female positive, awesome, awesome, awesome. And then they put a cover on it that lots of women fans and others were kind of offended by it. It seemed not appropriate to be trying to bring in the female audience. That debate, have it however you want to. I'm not having it, but anyway. And so, if Marvel had been going to get rid of him because they didn't like the backlash, that's kind of sucky. I think in a way that wasn't really the point. I think what I think is kind of funny and hurtful at the same time is people got excited when Bleeding Cool wrote in this. Or I was like, oh, you know, I mean, we didn't really want to curtail this guy's creative expression or create censorship, maybe. But gee, it was really nice that Marvel listened to us. Well, lo and behold, wasn't Marvel listening to the fan base crying about this cover. It's the fact is that the artist has a bunch of other commitments that are priority over doing these variant covers, and he ultimately ended up not being able to keep up with the schedule that Marvel wanted, and so he's just not doing those covers. I mean, he'll do more covers later on when he's done with his own creator-own work, so had nothing to do with that whatsoever. But Bleeding Cool ran the first, and they ran an article today saying, oh, you know, well, you know, Marvel says that it's, they decided to check with Marvel 2 days after they run the story about how he's basically been blacklisted off of doing Marvel covers, basically. 2 days later, they run another one going, well, gee, we decided to check with Marvel. Why wouldn't you check with Marvel when you first realized he wasn't doing the covers? Why didn't you ask Marvel then? Because it creates a better story, make a big scandal out of it and whatnot. So, really kind of irritated with Bleeding Cool currently. Is that going to completely keep me away from Bleeding Cool? Probably not. Will I initially respond to what Bleeding Cool says anymore? No. Bleeding Cool may be the first to say something, but until there's a larger consensus, and people check a few sources beyond some mystery source said so-and-so, I'm not going to really be reacting one way or the other to that stuff, because it just kind of, it's very frustrating, I think. It just causes more problems. And speaking of causing problems, in the rest of the whole comic book world, I know a lot of you are just comic book readers, that's your thing and whatnot. Some of us are con-goers, like going to the cons, like that whole experience and whatnot. I guess there was a creator who, one of the last cons that was just, one of the last big cons that was about, after the con was over with, was bitching, and I believe it was probably, this story was run on Bleeding Cool, was complaining about the fact that he felt like cosplayers were wrecking the cons. The cosplayers were costing him money. That he wasn't making as much money as what he used to in cons because he, because of cosplayers. Where's the random connection there? I have no idea. But basically, what it really comes down to, you know, if you look at other creators who are out there talking about the cons and whatnot, if you follow any of those people on Twitter, basically what it comes down to is that guy's model of how he thinks he should make money at cons is dead and dying, and he needs to kind of adjust what he's doing and whatnot. And most people, it makes no sense at all to me whatsoever. You know, most cosplayers are super fans in some sense or another. Even if you're cosplaying something, even if you're one of those fans who's cosplaying something that you know nothing about other than they think they look cool, they inevitably end up buying another product because of that. So, and I guess, you know, so what? I mean, I don't know any cosplayers who don't spend money, who don't go to cons and spend money. It may not be directly in that one creator's pocket, but they spend money. They're fans, and even if they aren't fans of comic books themselves initially, I bet they ultimately end up checking some of that stuff out, because it's really hard to show up to a con and not get exposed to all the other stuff that's there. You just can't. So that's just ridiculous. And of course, this caused all kinds of excitement all over the place. For me, it all goes back to a video I made probably almost a year ago about the fact that you don't own this fandom. None of us do. None of us do. We don't own the fandom. You own your own personal whatever you like or don't like, but you don't own the fandom. You know, if I want to, you know, celebrate Deadpool comics by lighting them on fire, that's my way of celebrating Deadpool comics. If somebody else wants to celebrate Deadpool comics by dressing up like Deadpool and wearing a panda hat and running around a con, taking pictures of everybody, awesome. That's his way to celebrate it, and I have my way to celebrate it, and we should all be able to celebrate that together. You know, it's whatever it is. You know, I continuing to find a group or a subset group of the fandom and pick on it is and say it's not or it shouldn't be is ridiculous. There's parts of the fandom I don't enjoy. I don't partake in those, but I don't keep anybody else from enjoying or partaking in those parts of the fandom. That's nuts. And nuts as a creator to be complaining about those other parts of the fandom. Obviously somebody else who didn't figure out how to move on, because the fan base is becoming more and more diverse all the time, which I think is awesome, because hopefully that starts challenging the people who are putting out content, and hopefully we can get some more interesting content. Not to say that I don't love the content from the back in the day, but that was back in the day. We've already had that content. Let's move on to some new content, right? Anyway, that's my soapbox for the day, I guess. I don't think I have a whole lot else to talk about in my world of comics. Oh, well, no, that's just me talking more about Bleeding Cool and whatnot. So, no, let's talk about it anyway. So, also, we heard that there is going to be a Scratch and Sniff Harley Quinn book, which I think is a funny idea. That's funny. And supposedly, one of the Scratch and Sniffs is cannabis, is the smell you're going to get, and it's not being shipped to outside the United States, because it's, you know, the people outside the United States will get the non-cannabis smelling version of the book, for whatever reason. I didn't actually read the article. Whatever. I don't know how true it is. Pretty interesting for a, if it is so, if you want to be in your moral high horse, for a major company to be shipping out a comic book that smells like marijuana, basically. I don't know in what context that would be in the comic book. I actually live in a state where adult marijuana consumption is legal, so no big deal as far as that goes. But still, that's the minority, not the majority. So interesting. Interesting if that's the case. I'll believe it when I see a video of somebody scratching and sniffing their cannabis Harley Quinn comic. Anyway, that's a fun idea. The Scratch and Sniff comic is hilarious. Other than you're going to have to buy 2 copies, I would think. 1 copy to keep if you want a really nice copy, and 1 copy to scratch. But anyway, yeah, what else are we going to do with that? It's a great gimmick. Anyway, and that's a great book for having a gimmick in, because it's gimmicky. Anyway, yeah, that's it. I'm just rambling. Have a great week, everybody, and I'll see you live on the weekend if you happen to be around for a comic book roundtable once again, and if barring that, I'm sure I will have no capes and a monster comic review. So have a great one, everybody.